Throughout history, there have been routes that connected not only distant lands but also hearts and minds. One of the most important was the Silk Road, a vast network of paths that united the most powerful civilizations of East and West. Beyond the exotic goods and wealth that traversed this route, what was truly shared were ideas, beliefs, and technologies that would transform the world forever. The Silk Road began more than 2,000 years ago, when Chinese emperors sought to open their borders to new horizons. The first products to travel along this network were silk and other precious goods. But it soon became clear that this was not just an exchange of commodities. The real value lay in the ideas that traveled alongside the caravans. Philosophies, religions, and scientific discoveries moved from one end of the known world to the other, impacting every civilization along the way. One of the most significant cultural exchanges was the spread of Buddhism from India to China. Through traders and travelers, the teachings of Buddha crossed mountains and deserts, reaching deep into Chinese culture. There, Buddhism left an indelible mark on art, philosophy, and spirituality. But Buddhism was not the only religion that traveled along this route. Islam, Nestorian Christianity, and other faiths also moved along the Silk Road, extending their influence and mingling with local beliefs. Some of history's most famous figures traveled these paths. Marco Polo, the Venetian merchant, traversed the Silk Road in the 13th century, amazed by the wonders he found at the court of Kublai Khan. His account inspired generations of Europeans to dream of distant lands and seek new trade routes. But long before him, the Buddhist monk Xuanzang had already embarked on his own epic journey. In the 7th century, Xuanzang set out for India in search of Buddhist scriptures, facing unparalleled dangers, but returning with a treasure of knowledge that transformed religion in China. However, the most significant exchanges on the Silk Road were not only religious or cultural. The flow of technology and knowledge along these paths had a monumental impact. From China, gunpowder, paper, and the compass traveled westward, forever changing warfare, navigation, and the preservation of knowledge. These inventions not only strengthened the empires that adopted them, but also contributed to humanity's progress as a whole. In return, knowledge of medicine, mathematics, and astronomy traveled eastward, influencing societies in the Far East. The Silk Road became a melting pot of ideas where cultures interwove, learned, and adapted to each other. In many ways, it was the first great experiment in globalization, an early example of how the exchange of ideas and technologies can push the boundaries of human progress. Over time, however, the Silk Road began to lose relevance. Maritime routes started to dominate international trade, and the overland network that once connected half the world began to fade. But its legacy lives on. The ideas, religions, and technologies spread along these routes continue to influence our lives today. The true wealth of the Silk Road was not found in the precious stones or luxurious fabrics that were traded, but in the human connections it wove. It was a route where cultures met and learned from each other, where bridges were built between distant worlds. Today, we can remember the Silk Road as a symbol of cooperation and understanding between civilizations, a reminder that when ideas cross borders, human potential knows no bounds.